So a question we get asked all the time is, how do I learn to row with my blades off the water? So how do I balance my boat? And there's quite a few things that go into balancing a boat, but to start with, you should always have a look at how your boat's set up. You want to make sure you have enough room at the finish to tap down to get the blade off the water. So if I didn't have my gates high enough, so enough washers underneath here, I wouldn't actually be able to tap my blade out and hold it off the water in a comfortable position on the way forward. So to start with, make sure you've got enough clearance. So this is probably about as much as you want. So when you tap out, you can tap out with square blades just before it hits your thigh. So once you've had a look at your heights, and it doesn't really matter what the height is between the gate and the seat, you know, it doesn't matter until you get on the water. You really need to see what your height, what your clearance is on the water, what your practical value of tapping down is. So you can see here that when I tap down, I've got just enough clearance to have square blades, so a good finish. And then tap and roll out. The next place I'd have a look for your balance is, it's pretty much all technical from there on out. And you have to get used to rowing with the boat nice and flat. So I'm sorry to say, for people who row on rough water, rough rivers, rivers with a lot of current, it's going to be very hard for them to develop the skills to balance the boat. If you're here like we are on the Huon River, you know, it's perfectly flat. There is a bit of a current going out, but the river's quite wide, it's not very swirly, and it's a really good spot to learn how to row with your blades off the water, because you can get the feeling of what the boat's like balanced. And so if you're looking for a step-by-step guide on how to row with your blades off the water, to start with, I'd practice rowing with your blades along the water. So I'll show you in a minute, but we're just going to go rowing along. Beautiful flat water, doesn't matter if your blades are on the water, and you're just trying to get used to that feeling of balance, that feeling of stability. The next step is to work on tapping down. So if you can't tap down properly, so if you tap down, drop your wrists, you're really compromising your body's ability to balance the boat. You have to be sitting tall at the finish, so pelvis nice and vertical. You don't want to be slumped like this. You don't want to be leaning back too far. You don't want to be hunched over the oar. So get that finish position right, sitting up nice and tall. So you've basically got a lot of room here to tap down. It's going to be nice and strong. So tap down and feather, and practice this. When the boat's sitting still, it's going to be harder to balance than when it's moving along. So if you can master this skill at rest, so tap down, one movement, then tap down, hands away, tap down, hands away, tap down, hands away. And so basically this movement, once you've done that, all you have to do, body over, come forward, place at the catch. One of the worst things you can do with balancing the boat is, on the way forward, get this wobble with the knees. So if you have a look at the wash that I'm putting off my boat when I wobble my knees on the way forward. So I shouldn't have any of that. I'm basically trying really tensely to balance the boat by wobbling around. You really don't want to do that. You want to be thinking, sit tall, brace, hands away, and glide into the catch. You don't want to be moving around like this. It can be very upsetting to your balance in your own boat if you're in a single, and it can be really disruptive in a crew boat. So tap down, hands away, and forward. No wobbling. So to start with, when you try doing this, you'll find that the boat will probably, you know, fall over to one side, fall over to the other side. But you don't want to be trying to go from one side to the other side and flip-flopping around all over the way on the way forward. You want to be tap down, hands away, take the catch, and roll along. You don't want to be trying to make all these micro adjustments all the time. Try and get your strength and your balance from a strong position, body over, same position into the catch, and then go from there. And the fact of the matter is, it does take a lot of time, a lot of practice to row with your blades off the water. Everyone's looking for a quick fix, but what I'm trying to give you here is a few things that will tip the odds in your favor of balancing the boat. It's not easy, but it's not too hard as long as you get the basics right. I mean, if you can, row on a flat river, you know, low swirl. Make sure you can tap down, make sure you got enough clearance, make sure you're feathering properly, flat wrists, make sure your body's in a strong position, giving yourself the best opportunity to come forward and place the blade. So if you can master this finish position, finish, tap out, hands away, body over, all you have to do is bring the feet towards you, place the blade and in. If you spend too much time when you're coming forward, so you're very hesitant, you don't want to be hesitant on the slide, you don't want to be rushing the slide, but you do want to be making sure that you're getting it done relatively quickly. So tap down and very purposeful movement on the way forward and place. You don't want to be tapping down, coming forward, thinking about it, you know, like slowing down, thinking, oh, the balance is no good, I have to lean over. No, it's just one movement from the tap down to the catch. Tap down, arms away, catch. Tap down, hands away, catch. All one movement, no interruptions, nice and smooth. And practice. You don't have to practice being when you're stationary, but you do have to think about what you're doing. So just as I was demonstrating with the boat being very unstable when it's not moving, the faster a boat moves, the more stable it'll be. It's a bit like riding a bike. The faster you go, the more stable it is. Although even when a rowing boat's moving fast, it's nowhere near as stable as a bike is. So basically, if you put a little bit more pressure on through the drive, so put a bit more pressure, a bit more intent through the oars, then you can really help the balance set up as well. It's important to know that when you're in a crew boat and the balance isn't quite the way you think it should be, that you don't make a big change to what you're doing. In a crew boat, you want to be doing the absolute minimum disruption to the boat. You want to be the most boring, the most consistent, and the most boring, the most consistent rower in a boat. You don't want to be the person who, you know, is wobbling around, panicking about the boat, rushing into the slide. You want to be smooth, you want to be smooth finish, you want to be not doing too much body movement. You want to just be sort of, not like a rock through, take the catch. Likewise in the drive, you want to be nice and smooth. Rowing a crew boat's all about working together, and so anyone who's doing anything that's disruptive, so out of sync with the rest of the boat, is going to have a big effect on the rowing boat, and you don't want that. So get the balance by working on the fundamentals, sitting tall, tapping out, clean, hands away, rolling forward to the catch, and not wobbling about too much. Try and get into a nice rhythm, and the more you get into this constant movement, so tap out, smooth, catch, drive, the better the boat will go, and the more confidence the other crew members will have, the more relaxation you'll have, and the more balance you'll have at the end of the day. So another thing that you can do to practice rowing with your blades off the water is do 10 strokes or so with a higher rate. So if you're used to rowing along at 20, maybe row along at 25, 26, something like that for 10 strokes. You'll find it's a lot easier to get your blades off the water, probably because you're don't have as much time to upset the balance of the boat on the way forward. So, you can imagine you have a lot of time at rate 20, but rate 26, coming forward quite quickly, no time for any of this, wiggly movement. So, go up for 10 strokes, down for 10 strokes. And it's not about getting it right on the first time or trying and keeping on failing. It's about just trying a few, having a bit of a rest, run your blades along the water, try again, just keep improving slightly and slightly and slightly, and then eventually you'll find you can race no worries with your blades off the water, and even in training at a low rate with your blades off the water. So there's quite a lot to think about when balancing a boat, but start with the easy stuff first. Make sure you're in the right position, got the right tap out, and the right platform to start with. Make sure the body's in a good position. From there, you can start working on coming down the slide. Most people think that the balance is down the slide, wobbling about, core strength. It is a little bit, I suppose, but you can't get it right unless you get this finish right. And you know, some people say you can't get the finish right unless you get the drive right. So make sure that you've got nice, good intent on the drive phase. Make sure when you tap out, it's nice and clean, flat wrists, strong body, come forward and place.